What did it take?
Well, I mean, I always like to credit probably my father because
Okay.
that was the first man in my life.
Okay, let me bring it home for you people. You who don't know, again, my father means Professor Dumont,
Yes,
who's happened to be the father of the late Kamala Dumont.
correct.
Now,
Yes.
now it's full circle for some people. The
Yes.
slow ones who don't get it. Thank you very much.
Yes, I like to think that he instilled a special kind of confidence in me because I happened to be female. And I think he recognized that there are just some challenges that you're going to face, black, female, African. So you have to have a certain level of confidence. And I think that in interacting with him as the first man in my life, he always told me, you're smarter than the guys. You could do it. You're great. You'll be professional. You'll be excellent. And I believed it. And I think it translated into how my formative years were spent trying
Okay.
to nurture my own mind and how I chose to interact with people, both men and women. So by the time I was really starting a career and found myself on the mines, I had a lot of comfort. I didn't really think so much about my gender. I was more interested in what I could
Do.
deliver. It was
Okay.
great that I could represent women in the workplace, young women in the workplace, and do so respectably. But I think I was more keen to demonstrate that I was capable as a person. And I like to give
You
him
grew up
credit
with
for that.
two brothers.
Yes.
Did they have anything to do with the direction you went? Because you would have expected them to come back with the boots and the hard hats, but then they came back with the suits,
Yes,
and you.
I think that my two dearly beloved brothers reinforced the position that they saw their father take in relation to me. Mana, you can do anything. In any case, I'm the eldest, so they tended to have to listen to me.
By divine pecking
Oh,
order.
there you go. And so it was wonderful to have two siblings, and then obviously because she continues to remain a major influence in my life. But having my brothers always encourage me. I mean, we're extremely close knit,
Okay.
and we always fall back on each other and take guidance and respect each other's opinions, even as we've grown, young adults, young parents, etc., and so on. So it's always been great to see them reinforce that message, and obviously no, Kamala's absolutely irreplaceable, but I'm always encouraged by the memory of the things that he said about me and the things he said to me, and that
Which was
gives me
important.
it gives me
Said
a
to you.
yes, it gives me a lot of courage, especially when I'm faced with very difficult
Well,
situations.
you mentioned Kamala. I think let's get that part over and done with.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years.
Yes.
Just about 2 weeks ago, we did a whole remembrance
Yes.
of him. 2 years. Has how have you filled that vacuum?
I don't really think there's any way to fill the vacuum.
Okay.
I think that for those of us who have anchored onto our faith, and that again is an example of something, the foundations that were set for me and my brothers by our parents, is to seek to continue the journey of life
Okay.
and focus on those things that will remain a legacy. So for me, working with my father on my brother's foundation and sustaining that legacy of communicating what Africa can and will become, because I'm absolutely confident that we will get to the space we need to, is one element of it. But then also obviously focusing on the here and now. My two beautiful nieces and my nephew will continue to require a tremendous amount of support, and we're all dedicated as a family to supporting my sister-in-law to ensure that that happens. So it's incredibly difficult, but I don't try to fill the
That's
vacuum.
great.
I try to focus on those things that I believe were his value systems and supporting to ensure that the children have enjoy that legacy.
19 minutes after 7, you tune into Joy 99.7 FM. This is Personality Profile. Today, my guest, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Mrs. Mawuena Trebah, here with us. Now, who is Mawuena Trebah? Take us, come on, where did you start school?
Well, most of our formative years were spent in the U.S. As you know, our parents are academicians. My late mother was a professor of English language and linguistics. My,
Okay, take, understand that.
my father, as you know, is a retired sociology professor. So there was a lot of intellectual debate and discussion in the family. We spent a lot of time in what I think were groundbreaking environments because they were different from the culture that we were raised in.
Okay.
And I think my parents were very forthright in saying that, yes, we live in the U.S. at this period of time in your lives, but when you cross the threshold into the house, you're on Ghanaian soil.
Everything US is outside the door.
Exactly. And so that helped to protect the cultural value systems that I think we have continued to sustain as we've grown. It was very interesting. Obviously, the U.S. in the early 70s was a different kind of place from what it is today. So we had a lot of experiences, truthfully, with issues around racism and how were able to manage those intelligently and rise above, some of those challenges. I think has really shaped.
It sounds for Africans that live in those spaces like the U.S. When it comes to issues about racism, we tend to kind of remove ourselves from it. Like, it's not our problem. It's a Black American problem. And you just haven't said that you may have had issues.
Well,
how did you deal with it?
For sure. I mean, I think first of all, our parents sought to ensure that we understood who we were and where we were from, and to take pride in who we were and where we were from. And so it would be quite difficult for anyone to dissuade us, because our parents were very, very influential in our lives, that we were anything less than the best, irrespective of where we were coming from. And I think that helped us to make informed choices. I certainly was one quick with the tongue. So I didn't really entertain a lot of verbal abuse. I wasn't one to accept it. And I remember a funny story. Komla liked to tell a lot about how he got into a verbal altercation when we were in school in the U.S. And they said, "Okay, fine, we'll meet you after school, as boys often do, but don't bring your sister."
Okay.
Because I'll first of all give you the history lesson, and then I'll let you understand that I'm actually physically bigger than you.
The fight was an intellectual fight.
Not just that. And that's the truth. But I think it's just a question of knowing who you are and whose you are. And letting that come across, because it's not just about having physical strength. You have to be mentally strong, because you're going to be faced with situations where people will challenge the authenticity of who you are, and it's important to be able to stand on those foundations. So we're very blessed and very fortunate to have those experiences, and I think it has shaped who each of us have turned out to be as we've progressed over the years.
Okay, I just realized that we're having a family conversation about you today. so let's come to you.
Yes.
What were your educational experiences? Where did you attend? Did you have your secondary education, high school?
Well, as I said, my parents were academicians.
Yeah.
They were invited to teach in different places. So by the time we were getting into our teenage years, they decided they did not want to raise teenagers in the U.S. And so we were packed up and sent off to Nigeria.
Okay.
We went to Kano State. So I went to St. Louis Girls Secondary School in Kano State in Nigeria. I'm very proud of that experience.
I thought I could hear somebody sitting behind their car in Kumasi, St. Louis, and say, "Oh, my school." No, it's not yours.
It's
Sorry.
not, but it's the same name. So I went to secondary school there, and then my first degree was at the University of Jos in Plateau State. That's where I studied geology and mining. It's the university campus sits on an old ring dike. So it's an excellent place to study geology and mining.
So you are justified.
Yeah, I'm justified.
You're justified.
That's excellent. We have it's called Great Josites.
Great Josites.
Great Josites. So yeah, it was an incredible experience. One again I'm very proud of.
Having grown up in the U.S. and Nigeria, two very strong cultures.
Yes.
That and we've met people from that space. And
Correct.
how did you manage to integrate yourself back into a very polite, conservative Ghana?
Well, I think Ghanaians are fierce in their own way, to be honest with you.
Is that a very technical communication specialist speaker?
No,
Like,
I don't
like
think
that's
so.
not how you are.
No. I mean, I think having the privilege of being exposed to other cultural experiences, for me personally,
Yeah.
has allowed me to learn the best and also appreciate what could potentially go wrong so that I can correct myself as I grow. Because, as I said to you, in spite of those cultural influences and those experiences, we're still very much rooted in Ghana
Okay.
and our Ghanaian roots. And our parents made sure we never forgot about those things. So that continues to remain, I think, the foundation on which we look at all of the opportunities that are presented to us, whether it's myself in my current role, whether it was Komla throughout his professional life, Koshi most definitely in his career in medicine. It's always about service
Okay.
and what you can do differently to improve the dynamics, not just for yourself. And to me, that's probably more important as a Ghanaian. So learning to be aggressive the way our brothers and sisters in Nigeria
Yeah.
are, but balancing it out against the backdrop of what is culturally acceptable in Ghana, for me is very, very important. And I'm very proud of those experiences. But for me, with a name like Mawuena Trebah, I can't be anything but Ghanaian.
You can't. You can't. So, did you learn to speak the other language in U.S. or you spoke it when you returned?
I
to
have
Ghana?
a terrible confession to make. I can only speak Ebe if there is a bowl of banku and ademedici.
Leke.
Yes, that's it. If it's not there, it's not happening.
It's not happening.
Don't even try. Don't even try. Much to my dad's distress, but you know.
Prof, we will have a conversation about that. 26 minutes into 7 p.m. The Chief Executive Officer of GIPC here with us here on Personality Profile, Mrs. Mawuena Trebah. Now, let me jump back into your career.
Right.
When did you decide that I was going to pivot? Because from geology to a reputational communication, corporate affairs specialist,
Right.
that's kind of a little bit of a wide berth.
I would agree to some extent, yes.
When did you decide, okay, I'm going to shift from the rocks to...
I think it's just, I always keep referring to divine providence because I
Okay.
really believe that God charts the path of those who will follow him honestly and sincerely. So it wasn't really my choice. I think that things just fell into place. I had completed an MBA in the US and I was excited about the potential prospects to perhaps start a career in management consulting. And then September 11th happened. And they were just not hiring foreign students, even if you had exceptional grades, etc., and so on. So I really had to think about my options. And the folks in the mining industry, kept on saying to me, Dr. Sam Jonah, look, recirculate your CV again. And so I did. And I was identified by Newmont. Of course, I wanted to go home. I was tired of the cold. So I was excited about the opportunity to be part of branding a mining company. I obviously understood the technical requirements.
Okay.
And I had the gift and the blessing of parents who had helped to nurture the artistic cultural communication side of who we also were. So it became a very nice fit for me to talk about things that I was very familiar with from an engineering and scientific perspective. And I think from there, it just continued to evolve. From Newmont, I was invited to consider a role at MTN, and then it's sort of that progression. So it wasn't really something that I chose. I like to think my maker chose it for me, and I tried to be obedient and
Do you ever get the minus itch to want to go down the hole again?
When I get into any mining environment, I get very excited. I remember again sinking 5,000 feet below the surface with a drilling team. Actually, the mines is where I really learned the power of teamwork.
Okay.
Because you have to operate as a very efficient unit. You're dealing with pretty expensive mining equipment, drilling equipment. You're also developing data and analyzing it, and it's going to have a serious impact if you get it wrong on the bottom line, because people are making projections about developing mine activities based on what you find when you go to do your exploration work. So I would say that yes, when I'm in the mining space or when I'm talking to fellow geologists, that's quite exciting. And when I'm talking about Ghana being the country closest to the center of the earth, that's
Your
sort of
facts are, your ducks are in a row.
there are my ducks are. I'm in good shape. I'm in good shape, Rudy.
So would that be your first success tip? If you want to succeed, become a miner. You learn teamwork.
If you want to succeed, be open minded.
Be open minded.
Be open minded. What you may assume would be your natural path of progress professionally may not necessarily be what you're expecting. So keep an open mind because the opportunities are vast, and be prepared to work very hard.
How hard?
Very hard.
How hard should I be prepared to work?
Go to work during the day and go study all night, and then go to work the next morning for a year and a half. That's consistently, because you're setting goals for yourself. They need to be tangible. They need to be feasible because you don't want to get frustrated. But it's really important to keep an open mind. I would never have anticipated this would be my career path. And I must be very sincere. So it has to be a God thing at some point. So for me, I think it's very important to keep an open mind, but recognize that there are no shortcuts.
Let's go to a little bit on charter rocks, not waters. On charter, do you sometimes find yourself being appropriated by, let me put it this way, the feminist bloc? as a female that is excelling in whatever that you're doing, and there's always a lookout for a muse. Right. Do you because you sound like somebody like, look, you have to strike it out like everybody else, male or female, it doesn't matter.
I mean, I think that there's a lot that has been said in respect to the issues of women in the workplace and ensuring that there's equal pay for equal work. I certainly have no issues with that. I think it should really be about performance and what you deliver to the table. I do think it's also important not to apologize for your femininity. I actually think it's a plus. And I have no hesitation in saying that there are several advantages being a leader and also happening to be female. And I'm not unapologetic about applying those, just as my male counterparts would look at whatever skills they bring to the table because of who they came to the earth as. So for me, I'm not sure that there's anything like being latched onto by the feminist movement. I think there's a lot of value in the challenges that women face, and we have to be honest and sincere about how we address them, because really it's only going to benefit us as a country, as individuals, as communities, if we have everybody on the same team and we respect what everybody brings to the table. So it shouldn't really be, in my opinion, about your gender. It should be about your performance and what you can deliver to support the collective as opposed to just the individual.
Well, 28 minutes to the top of the hour. This is Personality Profile you're listening to. It's brought to us by Vodafone. Power to you. And Takai, the taste of Africa. What if I told you if you port to Vodafone X today, you would enjoy all the X goodies plus your money back is guaranteed if you are not satisfied? Well, it's not too good to be true because it is true. Okay, so here's the deal. Get on Vodafone X monthly package with your existing number. And if you don't enjoy the amazing offer, no long things. Just take your money back. Simply walk into any Vodafone retail outlet with a valid ID and port your number to Vodafone X. What's better than keeping your existing number and enjoying free Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, and 1.2 gigabytes of data for only 11 Ghana cedis a month? Visit us on VodafoneX.zone for more details. Terms and conditions, of course, do apply. Come to the other side. You are better with Vodafone X. Vodafone, power to you. And also, attitude that says everything and 100% infused with things that you find here.
Yes.
And your current job is to sell this beautiful land of ours as a destination. When you see products like Takai, what comes into your mind? How do you connect it to people out there?
One of the things that I think is important when we're communicating about ourselves as a country is to ensure that we appreciate the quality of information that's already out there. And we seek to present a broader perspective of who we are as people.
Okay.
So if you take a product like Takai, for instance, and you want to showcase that, you shouldn't showcase it in isolation.
Okay.
You want to showcase it in the context of our culture, in the context of our music,
Linkages.
and in the context of our business, so that the business person, because business is about relationships, it's about trust, inevitably they start to see that it's more than just a product. It's culture, it's people, it's a representation of all things Ghanaian, if that's
Okay.
that were possible. And so for me, when we're trying to put our best foot forward, it's really important that we give broader perspective, because sadly there is not as much information as we would assume is out there. There are lots of assumptions, there are lots of preconceived ideas about Africa, about Ghana, about Ghanaians, and we seek to present the true story. The true story is in the quality of the product,
Okay.
the fact that that product can compete on a global stage, and that it's of a competitive price. So Ghanaians themselves patronize it, and therefore they can endorse it. There are non-Ghanaians who've tried the product and they're excited about it.
Okay.
That's the way you go beyond just the normal promoting of the country or promoting
Then
of
it's not
products and
any other
service.
product. It's not any other liquor.
It's unique to Ghana.
Okay.
And I think that that's one of the things that makes us such an exciting case, for consideration, not just by the business community, but by the academic community, by the non-governmental and other governmental institutions as well. So it's pretty exciting. And I'm always obviously very proud to showcase Ghanaian products.
You've traveled the world, in various stages of your career. And now your job is actually to sell Ghana as a destination, as a business destination and investment destination. What's the one single thing that is consistently said about the country or known about the country out there?
Definitely got to be the quality of the human beings that people come in contact with.
That proverbial something we call hospitality.
It's it's Ghanaian hospital. Actually, it's two things, Rudy.
Okay.
Three things. It's always about our hospitality.
Okay.
It's always about our chocolate. It's always about our football. And I could tell you those three things are a consistent, recurring theme.
Okay.
Doesn't matter what country I've ever been to and people I've ever interacted. As soon as you say Ghana, somebody's eyes will light up and they will mention Abedi Pele or Michael Essien or Asamajan. That's always going to happen. And then obviously there's also the quality of our chocolates.
Okay.
It's an international fact that our cocoa is the best tasting globally. There's no two ways about it. The French admit it. The Belgians admit it. They're producing
the
it.
The Swiss swear by it.
Well, they that's just the reality. And then there's also obviously, and I think that's why, again, people are seeing this country as a place to reach out to the rest of the continent, because this is really the final frontier. The other markets are developing very fast. So if you look at what's happening in Asia, what's happening in the Middle East, Europe and North America, it's already spoken for. This is where all the action is. This is where all the economies are growing. And even with the economic challenges that the world has been facing, so Ghana's no exception, we're still appealing because of some of these things that people can relate to from a global perspective.
So our biggest advantage is potential then.
Absolutely. And I think that, I'm Ghanaian, so I can say it. We tend to take a more pessimistic view of ourselves, whereas there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. Yes, of course, we have challenges. I was talking to someone yesterday at a strategy planning session for one of our private banks, and he was saying that, but I read all of this stuff in the media about Ghana, but I just feel like there's such an air of optimism that in spite of the difficulties, there's still opportunities, and people are looking at the medium, they're looking at the long term. And I said to him, look, if you talk to the Ghanaian, who is also looking at business opportunities, I think you might find, again, a very balanced view. And that is not to say that, of course, there are problems, of course, there are challenges, there are difficulties, but certainly there are opportunities, and we want to make sure that Ghanaians are able to capitalize on it. So that's why a lot of the showcasing has to be about Ghanaians and Ghanaian businesses. So we need to put them in front of all of the conversations. I think that's what a lot of the things we've done in the last year have been about. Think about Ghana and make it happen.
0244340437. I realize that a lot of you are already sending in your questions. We'll be dealing with them towards the end. My guest in the studio is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. It's personality profile, not business profile. So let's talk about love. What you believe in love?
I do. Absolutely.
What's love?
What is love?
Yes. Some say it's like air. You can't really bottle it.
Without hopefully sounding too cheesy, I think the first definition of love is the definition of Christ.
Okay.
And who he is, what he represents, and trying to emulate the demonstration of ultimate love. For me, that's the benchmark.
So was that the inspiration behind finding love on the 13th of February? That's very close.
It is very close, isn't it? Because
you're a very strategic person.
The Saturday didn't fall on the 14th, unfortunately, so it had to be the 13th. But I mean, again, divine providence, because I didn't really know him.
Yeah, the very pessimists will say that but it could also be strategic planning.
I don't think so. Well, maybe on his part, you'd have to ask him, because he doesn't like me to say it, but I'll say it anyway. He gate crashed my birthday party. He wasn't invited, but somehow
that's probably the best gate crash story I've ever heard. I mean, if I ever gate crash, I get thrown out.
He managed to get an invitation.
Wow.
To come. This is a very small gathering, so quite private. But he got into the house, and I actually thought he was a friend to the person he came with. So I was super extra nice. And then the next day he called. Oh, I called to say thank you. And then he called again. I'm thinking, this guy, what does he want? So, yeah, I mean, I didn't really...
First, you didn't have an invitation.
No.
You turned up.
Yes.
And then you're calling twice.
Why?
He didn't read the books I've read. No, I understand.
But I give him a lot of credit for persistence. I think it's just a thing with the military.
Okay.
They're not easily phased. They don't give up. So, yeah, I was a bit annoyed initially, but,
Okay. Earlier on today on our Drive Express, I asked the question whether, a woman can swear by their man that they are romantic and how they express. Is he romantic?
He is.
How does he express it?
He'll plan a little surprise, like something unexpected. Like I might come home and I keep later hours than he does, and so I might find a really nice, something special. Nothing expensive or too, but it's just nice.
Military people, they're always raising the market. Why?
So that's quite nice, Yeah, he's a good man.
Balancing home and career. A lot of women have challenges with that. How do you juxtapose the two?
Well, I also like to think that I have a good support system.
Okay.
And I must be very honest. Anyone who thinks that there's a superwoman out there might unfortunately be mistaken.
Oh.
You try to put systems and structures in place. You try not to feel guilty when you can't meet every expectation. And you try to ensure that you show honor and respect to those who support your system.
Okay.
So my husband is my boss. In a GIPC, I can be the CEO, but in the house, that's my boss.
You have a boss.
Yeah, that's my boss. But he's extremely supportive of what I do. There's absolutely no way I could do this if I didn't know he was right there ahead of me, making sure that I cover my bases. Because my big thing is my family. And if I have to sacrifice time with with him and with my daughter, with my father, then it has to be for a good reason, good purpose. So having him there, knowing that, by the time she gets home from school, daddy will be around. So I get to do breakfast. I do the morning things. We chat, we laugh, etc., and so on. And then he picks her up in the afternoon. He has a lot more flexibility because he runs his own business. So knowing that he's there and it's going to be one of the two of us gives me a lot of comfort. We do a lot of FaceTime. So I get to see
Technology.
Yes, it's fabulous.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. So that always gives me a lot of comfort. And when I'm feeling a bit low about not being near them, etc., he has his own way of
So with your
helping me
manic
out.
hours, what do you do to let your hair down?
I sleep a lot because I'm
Yeah.
always in different time zones, Rudy. I watch cartoons a lot with my I the
What's
my
your favorite character?
gosh, I think right now we love Sophia the First.
Okay.
Yes. And Peppa Pig. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
No Mickey Mouse.
oh, he's okay. He's all right, I guess.
No Johnny
Yeah.
Quest, no Johnny Bravo.
Johnny Bravo. Yeah, no, not yet.
Yeah, you could tell where I'm from with all the characters I'm calling, right? Because Sophia they pick their levels.
Yes.
Uh, so you
I spend a lot of time. We do a lot of outdoor things. I like going for walks a lot. It lets me decompress, and I get to walk with my daughter. Well, actually, my husband likes jogging. I would like to walk really, so I do a lot of walking with her. She's usually on her scooter, so
Okay.
it's quite fun.
What's
That's
the
nice.
biggest legacy you want to leave behind as a person?
That there is joy in service. There's fulfillment in service. I come to a conclusion that we look at the word servant
Okay.
and we're not too comfortable with it. But I really feel like if we really understood that word, the fulfillment in service is the way it's generational in its impact. You're not just affecting one person. If you are gracious and supportive to someone and you're able to help them intervene in difficult situations, inevitably that comes back to you because it comes back to you in generations that come after you.
Okay.
And I guess for me, that would be perhaps the most powerful legacy, someone who's able to demonstrate the power of service. And I guess that would probably be it.
30 minutes to the top of the hour. You're listening to Personality Profile on Joy 99.7 FM, brought to us by Vodafone. Power to you. And Takai, the taste of Africa. Sometimes you need more than a day to finish your conversations, and with Vodafone's 2 Ghana City package, you have 2 days to say it all you want to say. For 2 Ghana Cities, you get an amazing 250 minutes to 0244340 Seriously. Why Mariah?
I listen to lyrics a lot. But my family has a very musical background, as you know, and so I like to listen to the intent behind the words and the
Okay.
lyrics. So that for me, that's a very powerful piece of music. It conveys a lot in the lyrics. But I like Ghanaian artists too.
Who's your favorite Ghanaian?
Gosh, right now I have to be honest. It's Miss V.
Miss V.
Miss V.
Any reason? Any particular reason?
I just think she's doing an incredible job branding herself as an individual artist, and I think she's cool. She's cool. Surprised.
I'm very surprised.
I think she's cool.
I was expecting, artists maybe a decade, of the scene.
I like to think of myself as being quite flexible, quite open-minded. I think she's really cool.
So if the head of investment at Barclays in the UK said, give me your iPad, I want to listen to your music on it, would I find Miss V on it?
You would find Miss V. You'd find a lot of gospel music. You'd find a lot of sort of classical music.
Okay.
A lot of reggae. It's a very nice mix of different kinds of music.
You ever go out partying?
I party with Mr. T.
Yeah. So what's your favorite Ghanaian dance?
I think Bobobo would have to be.
What this is that? Bobobo.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
You never heard of Al Qaeda, Azonto?
Those are all really cool. That's really nice. Quite traditional, I think. Yeah.
Bobobo.
Yeah. It's cool. It's.
I mean, I'm just trying to dance Bobobo and the Mahiki.
It requires a lot of self-control and discipline. I'm sure you can appreciate that.
What's your favorite joint when you want to go out to eat?
I like buka.
Okay.
Was I
Justified
the
influence.
tilapia?
The tilapia is very juicy.
It's nice work
I raise
done.
my hand on that.
Yeah. Fali's is also not bad.
Yes.
You know.
Same line. Same line. What's your favorite part of tilapia? The head. You don't eat the head?
The head for sure.
You eat the head?
Yes, I do.
Americans eat tilapia head?
I'm not American.
And this is one of... Actually, she just didn't say Miss V. There's a particular... And I didn't know this song.
A particular song.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mawuena requested this song from Miss V. Boomerang. I feel like a knob right now.
It's Miss V, y'all.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Are you ready for me? Are you ready for me? Sing along. Let me hear you scream for me. Sing along, not like the other girls you know. When you have me, never gone. Oh na. It's Miss V, y'all. Are you ready for me? Sing along. Let me.
So I'm trying to see whether you can do the bobo with this.
No, you can't do bobo with this one. It has to be very traditional, Ewe sort of choral
So
music.
give us your 1-2 step.
You've got to be kidding me.
No.
Not going to happen, Rudy.
See, that's boss talk. That's boss talk right there. You actually sing. You know the lyrics.
Shake, boomerang.
Well, those of you who are sending investment questions, sorry, save it for another day. Talk with Joy Yankson or somebody. That's where they do those things. Not here. We are dancing. We're very busy dancing. Very, very busy. So the thing is, if you want somebody to describe you in 5 words, what words would it be?
Decisive, committed,
Okay.
enthusiastic, loyal, prepared.
Prepared. So, which means you don't believe in luck. You just believe in preparation.
There really is no such thing as luck. I really just there's no shortcut.
Okay.
You have to do the time. That's all there is to it. There's no hocus pocus.
No shortcuts.
No.
Just walk.
No.
Walk it straight.
You'll have to work hard. There's no gray area for me on that score.
Okay.
Absolutely, God will chart a path for you, but you have to be willing to listen to Him, and you have to be obedient. There's no shortcut.
That sounds like a boomerang. That sounds like a boomerang kind of conversation. 2 minutes to the top of the hour. The news is coming up. We are listening to Personality Profile today. My guest in the studios, Mrs. Mawuena Trebah, Chief Executive Officer of GIPC, the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. The show is brought to us by Vodafone, Power to You, and Takai, the Taste of Africa. Someone wants to ask you what you're doing. What will you do to improve investment in the film industry? Like I said, Kokojo Junction.
Actually, that's a really important question. Well, because there is not, I would think, enough attention on the very, very exciting prospects that are in the creative arts sector, and I'd love to be able to do a lot more work. I'm very excited about some of the collaborations that the center already has, and that goes without saying. Rudy, I have to chip this in. I think I've got the gift and the privilege of working with a very dynamic, young, professional team of people at the GIPC. They really are pulling out the stops. So smart, bright, new ideas, new approaches, new research. It's very, very exciting. So I have to congratulate, because the leader is only as good as the team that stands with them. So for me, that's something that I think if we were to create a little bit more opportunity for collaboration with the creative arts industry. There's a tremendous amount of work that could be done there because it's big business. It's serious business.
Yeah, just so you know, tomorrow there will be 50 proposals on your table.
We would love it.
I know a lot of people are dusting their propositions right now.
We would love it.
GIPC, Apaye.
We would love it because that's what we're here for. And I guess that's my big thing with the GIPC. We really need to ensure that the Ghanaian community knows that we are there for them first.
Okay.
And there are lots of things that we can do for them first.
Well, thank you very much for your time today.